Well, as promised, Jade Hoye joins us, the Basketball Friends Leverage, that the chat co-founder, former ESPN NBA producer of the True Hoop podcast. He's all about the NBA, and he joins us here on Big Board Sports 104.5, the Team ESPN Radio in Albany, along with Chris Honorado. I am Roger Weiland. Jade, good morning to you. Thanks for a few minutes, my man.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
I do not have AAA, by the way.
Oh, hey, spell my name right.
$50,
$50,
Jade.
buddy. $50.
I'm passing it on to my wife right now.
Just put the D in front of the G, and you're all set and capitalize. Sure. Hey, let's start with our regional team of interest, Jade, and that is the New York Knicks up here, and they're struggling on the road, and tough loss last night in Chicago. What do you make of the Knicks so far this season?
I told you guys. Listen, I'm an amateur when it comes to this, so I have a very broad view. But I am fully on board with the Knicks should be tanking. You know, I just don't. I feel like they got kind of a team going, obviously with Porzingis, but I, unlike my friend Jared Ferrara, believe the Knicks should be losing right now.
So, Jade, I take it you don't love the Tim Hardaway Jr. signing.
I mean, listen, you got to get players out on the court, right? And, listen, it's difficult in that any team has to be up against this LeBron juggernaut for I don't even know how many more years we got left here. But, yeah.
Yeah, well, let me ask you this. When you talk about tanking, and I know we've thrown that out, we do it in the NFL too, and we hoping the Jets would tank this season, and they didn't. The Giants kind of did. How do you tank if you're an NBA team like the New York? You say the Knicks should tank. How do you go about tanking?
I mean, that's up to the front office. You know, you want to make sure that you're putting your coach in a less than reasonable situation with the players that are on the floor. Listen, I'm not saying that teams should be actively losing. It's just in this day and age, you just have to form a team that can actually compete. I just don't think the Knicks, what are they, 17,500 right now? I mean, they barely make the playoffs, and one round is it. And they've been here for forever. So I think I'm not necessarily a believer in trying to build with what you have. I actually think that they should, just try to, develop the players that they have, but, position themselves appropriately when the draft comes.
So obviously when we talk about tanking, we're talking about, accumulating as many top draft picks as possible. We're joined by Jade Hoye, the Basketball Friends. Go to leveragethechat.com. Check out the network of podcasts there. Jade, with you mentioned you like Porzingis. With Porzingis and Ntilikina, and I don't know if Enes Kanter is around beyond this year or even next, is New York an attractive destination for free agents, given a guy like Porzingis, and maybe if Ntilikina grows in to the starting point guard role?
I mean, it's difficult to say because of the ownership situation, right? I think that they would need. Listen, there's a rumor out there that LeBron could be. Actually, I've said it myself, but. It will take one big name to make the jump, right? But there's been things that have happened in the last 4 or 5 years to just make that situation rather unappealing, and it has to do with James Dolan. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I mean, it seems to me like being an East Coast guy that would be a absolutely spectacular destination for a marquee player. But it just hasn't been the case, The other team that gets a lot of play here in the Capital Region is the Boston Celtics, and we know they had a devastating injury to start the season, but still awfully good. Where do you have Boston among the Eastern Conference teams? I actually think if there's one team that can actually defeat the Cavaliers, it's the Celtics, and just because very well-rounded team. Great organization, great coaching, obviously, saying all the standard things, but put them in a 7-game series with the Cavs, which is probably what we're going to see. I like their chances. I really do. I mean, Kyrie's playing out of his mind, and but a little bit of, I mean, unfortunate situation with Hayward, but I actually think that they could really test the Cavs this year. But I ultimately think we're going to be seeing, the same thing. Cavaliers, Warriors. Get me to June.
I feel the same way, but Jade, I'll ask you a two-parter here. One, are you bored of Warriors Cavaliers? And on the back end of that, if Boston's the team to challenge Cleveland in the East, who is the team in the West to potentially challenge Golden State?
I mean, listen, the Rockets are probably the most likely team to challenge the Warriors out West. They can shoot the three, and if they get a couple games where they just go berserk beyond the arc, and then a couple bounces go their way, then that could happen. I mean, Daryl Morey's just put that team in a position now where you're just looking for a couple hiccups to get over that hump, But man, that's a tough one, because this 7-game series is just such a long period of time, and chances of beating a team as good as the Warriors, a team we haven't seen this good in so many years, is, I don't know. Maybe they have a 30% chance.
Are you bored by Warriors Cavs?
I'm not bored with the Warriors Cavs at all. Just because, I don't know. I've been to every one of the finals that they played, and it's great basketball. And obviously having LeBron in the finals is almost like, when we don't have LeBron in the finals, you're going to notice big time. He's just such a draw. But I don't know, that Warriors team.
I mean, they're 9-1 since Steph Curry was injured. They can get it done a lot of different ways.
Yeah, my favorite team, like recently, was the year before they got Durant, and they ended up losing to Cleveland and chasing that record. That I thought was one of the most exciting seasons of basketball of my life. But I mean, they're not necessarily boring to me in the state they're in now with one of their marquee guys down. It's kind of a fun way to see them. I'm kind of with Steve Kerr there. But ultimately I think it's a bit of a Groundhog's Day situation.
Jay, we all watch a lot of NBA basketball on Christmas Day, and we were reacting to this the day after. Did LeBron get fouled in the closing seconds by Durant, or is that just a call they're not going to get?
Oh, I thought he got fouled. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's just, unfortunately he was playing in Oakland, right? So
that seems to be the factor. On the road, just not going to get those calls, no matter what the level is.
Yeah, I mean, in Cleveland, he's getting that call.
Right.
Simple as that. I'm not going to sit here and go crazy over it. I'm not necessarily. I don't have a diehard team. I don't necessarily have a rooting interest to the point where I get so offended. Maybe the Yankees, I'm like that, but it is what it is.
All right, you know what? I didn't know you were a Yankees fan. I'm going to jump right off that then. What are your thoughts on the Yankees offseason here? Hiring Aaron Boone, trading for Giancarlo Stanton, and now the rumor that I don't like is the idea of trading a guy like Clint Frazier for somebody like Garrett Cole, who in my mind is not a serious ace in baseball. What are your just kind of thoughts on the Yanks offseason here?
Shouts to Derek Jeter. The captain. Listen, Chris and Roger, I don't follow that closely. But I do know that Jeter helped us very much by getting us Stanton. But yeah,
for very little in return. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I like their chances next year. They did pretty well this year with what they had and got farther than anyone would have expected them to. Right.
Last thing from me, Jade. What is the future of this Oklahoma City Thunder team? Are they putting it together here finally? They've won 6 in a row, and Westbrook, Melo, and George combined for 81 last night. Are they a factor in the West?
I wouldn't want to play them, you know. And it's the case with 3 players, or I would really say 2, and then Melo as a complement to that, right? But listen, you get players of that caliber, it takes time. And Steven Adams is playing amazingly. And listen, I wouldn't want that matchup in the playoffs because just in terms of sheer athleticism. But yeah, I think they found the groove, and I think they'll be playing some good basketball from here on out for sure.
Jade, we appreciate a few minutes here on ESPN 104.5 A Team in Albany, and Happy New Year to you. We'll definitely get back in touch and talk NBA hoops after the first of the year.
Thanks, guys.